Hey guys, it's Holly, and today I'm really excited to share with you and talk to you about the brand new LEGO Harry Potter direct-to-consumer set, which is the Hogwarts Express Collector's Edition. Now this is set 76405 and has 5,120 pieces and will be retailing for $500 US, 800 Australian and 430 Great British pounds, which is a very tall ask. And upon seeing this set, I had mixed feelings, and even upon building the set and having it in person, I've still got a lot of mixed feelings about it. On one hand, as a LEGO model and just a LEGO build in general, I love it. I think it's amazing. There are so many cool build techniques. It was a lot of fun to put together. It looks really clean and not even like LEGO at all. It's amazing. But as a LEGO set, I feel like there's some things that are lacking from it. I feel like it just feels overall a little bit incomplete to me at the same time and doesn't quite work, especially for the price point, which at the end of the day is what I think lets this set down the absolute most. At $500 US, you could go and buy a PlayStation 5, or you could buy this giant pile of plastic bricks, and as much as I love LEGO, it's at that price point where it just becomes incredibly hard to justify for what you're getting. Even against other LEGO sets, like this is the most expensive LEGO Harry Potter set to ever be made currently, and if you pit it up against things like the Hogwarts Castle and Diagon Alley, I feel like those sets just look like and feel like they're better value than this set is, despite this having tons to offer. Now this set has 45 numbered bags and comes with 4 instruction booklets, so if you want to build this with someone else, you absolutely can. I built this with my mum, she did booklet 2, and I did 1, 3, and 4, and overall, in total, it took us around like 8 to 10 hours, and just for reference, I consider myself to be a pretty fast builder, and my mum on the other hand is like still pretty new to LEGO, so she is a lot slower, but I definitely don't recommend doing this in one sitting. It's possible, but it's very painful. It was very draining. My eyes were hurting, my fingers were hurting. Just don't do it to yourself. Now this set also comes along with a really nice printed 8x16 platform 9 3/4 like Hogwarts Express ticket, which looks fantastic and actually says in the instructions that it can be combined with the Hogwarts icons, which I thought was really cool. The instruction manuals as well have like a ton of little notes about how the set was made, as well as just information regarding the Hogwarts Express and the Harry Potter universe, which is very insightful and a really good read. But what I feel like people are going to be more excited for are the 20 different minifigures, which at least at the time of release, a lot of them include brand new face prints, brand new torso prints, that a lot of them are all currently exclusive to this set, which is really exciting. First up is Harry, and this is the exact same version that came in the 2021 advent calendar, and it's nothing I guess I wouldn't expect. I mean, this figure works perfectly in this set. This was exactly what he was wearing, and he comes along with a little brown frog meant to represent the chocolate frog that jumps off onto the window in this scene. And I mean, this whole scene was about him meeting Ron properly for the first time, so of course you have to have Ron in this scene as well, who comes along with a brand new torso print as well as a brand new printed face, which actually has the little dirt that's on his nose, which I find really funny, of course, because minifigures don't have noses, so it's more just like a little dirt smudge on his face. The backside of his head as well just looks a little bit more disgusted, same with that dirt smudge that Hermione sort of has to tell him to get rid of. It's really cute, and overall, I absolutely love this Ron figure. Speaking of Hermione, here she is complete with her brandless, sort of houseless Hogwarts robes, and comes complete as well with those brand new sort of black trolls skirt pieces and the triple molded legs, which personally I much prefer the look of. I think this looks a lot more interesting and technically does actually make her different from her advent calendar counterpart, again from that 2021 advent calendar where she just had plain black legs. Up next is the trolley witch with her giant snack cart, which we'll take a closer look at later, but this minifigure is actually like a brand new design for the trolley witch, which is really interesting considering she did come in the 2018 version. Now, there aren't too many differences between the two minifigures, however, they do have different torso prints, of course they have different leg prints, and the head is exactly the same on both, which is actually the same head used for Aunt May from the Spider-Man sets, and she's got a smile on one side and is looking absolutely terrified on the other. And while I do love the additional printing on her torso, I don't necessarily think this minifigure needed it. And lastly, to round out the Philosopher's Stone group of minifigures, we have the Hogwarts Express train conductor, who actually comes with one of those newer flesh tone prints, which I'm pretty sure is the same one from the Din Djarin minifigures from LEGO Star Wars. I really love this skin tone. It's really great to see that appear on a figure like this, where it isn't really, I guess, all that important. You just sort of know that he was in the scene, you know that he was there, and it's really great to get a nice face print here with this sort of stubbled beard, which I absolutely love the design of. I think it looks amazing. I love the detail on his face. I love the detail on his torso. I just love this minifigure overall. Up next, we've got the Prisoner of Azkaban, and we have a brand new Harry Potter torso for this one. His face is exactly the same as, I guess, all of the older style Harry Potter minifigures, so there's nothing new there, but he does have a brand new jacket print, which much more accurately represents what he wore in the film to what, I guess, was included in that 2018 Hogwarts Express. It's really just a plain sort of navy blue jacket, but it looks really nice and is accurate, so I'm very happy here. And just like Harry, we get a much more updated and more accurate Ron, again with a brand new torso print and the same head as his other counterparts. I really love the design of the sweater on the torso, it just looks so accurate to the movie. Next up, we've got Hermione, and unlike Ron and Harry, they actually did a more accurate version of this torso in that 2018 set, which again, just like the Trolley Witch, is a newer version that has been updated a little bit. I mean, I don't really see much of a difference between these two torsos. I don't think it necessarily needed an upgrade, but nevertheless, I think it looks really good. Personally though, I don't think that the black legs particularly work for Hermione. I do think that these tan ones that were on the 2018 version were a lot more accurate. Next up as well, we have a brand new Professor Lupin minifigure with a beautiful new torso and some leg printing as well, which is fantastic to see. I love seeing his robes since we haven't had some good leg printing on Professor Lupin ever, so it's great to see that represented here. He's also got some little like tattered marks on the back printing there, as well as his hood. The only thing with Lupin though is I wish they gave him a new head print, because I feel like it would have been really cool to have like a sleeping version rather than his sort of werewolf face, considering at this point we have no idea that he is a werewolf, and I feel like considering he was asleep on the train, like that would have been a really cool addition to have with him. Otherwise, he's a massive step up from the 2018 version in terms of, I guess, just accuracy and print-wise. Again, that leg printing is really good. I just wish he could have been asleep. And lastly, for the Prisoner of Azkaban, we have a regular old Dementor. This is nothing we haven't seen before. It's exactly the same as the rest of them, but it is great to get another one to sort of add to your Dementor army. Moving on to the Half-Blood Prince, and again we have a brand new version of Harry Potter, complete with a new head with these broken glasses, which I just think is absolutely hilarious. I love this face print. I think the graphic designers did an amazing job with that. Part of me wishes though that there was I guess like a little bit of a bloody nose, but at the same time I completely understand why LEGO didn't do that or include it on him, but I love it nevertheless. This new face print is always a great thing to have on Harry Potter minifigures, and again, just like the Prisoner of Azkaban, he comes with a brand new torso, which is just, again, another jacket, another shirt combo. I mean, Harry's wardrobe really wasn't all that exciting. Also from the Half-Blood Prince, of course, we have the most iconic Luna Lovegood outfit. I'm really not surprised that she was included in this set, despite only being released a couple of years ago in the first ever Harry Potter CMF series. These versions do look pretty similar. The pink on their torsos, though, does look slightly different, and I'm not sure if that's just from age or what, but there is a different tone to both of them. They also have different leg lengths, which the newer one is a lot more accurate, and interestingly enough, the skirt is actually printed on the newer version rather than having a skirt piece like the CMF, which part of me actually does prefer the skirt piece. Both of them do have a little satchel though, however the newer ones is in a navy blue, and interestingly enough they did keep that sort of Luna Lovegood hair going. I would have loved to have seen sort of a more ponytail for her in this scene. I mean, to me, a ponytail is a lot more accurate than sort of just having her hair down, as it was sort of like over her shoulder type of thing. Like, I think the 2010 Hogwarts Express really nailed that. Like, I would have loved to have seen that. Otherwise, I think this minifigure is amazing. The torso print looks incredible with all this detail on it. Even the skirt and the hip printing, like overall, it all looks really nice. She's also got a brand new face print, of course, with the Spectra specs on the other side, which look fantastic. Overall, this minifigure is great. However, she does have this really weird coating on the hairpiece. Like, it sort of feels like a bit smooth and shiny and not quite plastic like the sort of regular Luna Lovegood hairpieces. I hope you can sort of see the difference between the two of them. I don't know what they've done on this hairpiece particularly, but it is very different to, I feel like, what we're used to with Luna Lovegood minifigures. And lastly from the Half-Blood Prince is of course Draco Malfoy, who comes with his black suit. However, this black suit on this minifigure actually isn't one that is showcased at all in the Half-Blood Prince. Throughout that movie, Draco just had a plain black suit with a black shirt, a black tie and everything. However, this minifigure has a dark green shirt and a grey tie with the silver sort of Slytherin badge on the tie there, which looks amazing, but isn't really accurate to this scene. And I purely put that down to the fact that maybe they just didn't want to put black on black for a torso. torso, but actually this outfit looks incredibly similar to the suit that Draco was wearing in the epilogue, which I wonder if that's where the designers got this one from, because technically it's still from the franchise. It is an outfit that Draco wore. It's also sort of ties into, I guess, the rest of the minifigures, and it's a lot more interesting than just doing the plain black suit. I think it still works, even though it's technically not all too accurate. The rest of him, though, is just exactly what you would expect from a standard Draco Malfoy minifigure. And lastly, we have the most exciting minifigures from the set, and those are the epilogue minifigures, starting off with Harry, complete with a nice little stubbled beard. He does look a little bit aged in the eyes as well, which I think is really cool. And then for the most part, his outfit's very simple. It matches really well. His hair definitely looks a little bit more slick than I think it did in that scene, but it's nothing that I guess I didn't expect. Overall, I think they did a great job, and I'm glad as well that they did do double-sided heads for Harry. Next up, we have Ginny, and I feel like her hair could have been maybe a little bit better, but I still think that this hairpiece works. And just like Harry, I mean, her outfit was pretty plain, but it is very accurate to what we see in those scenes. I absolutely love her head though. Like, I think this is amazing, and honestly, I think it would have worked better for minifigures like Molly Weasley and like Lily Potter. It just looks a lot more kinder and not quite as old, and I love as well how she has an alternate face, which I'm not too sure why it's grumpy particularly, but at least there are two different versions. Up next, we have James Sirius, who has this absolutely scruffy hair, which is using that Cole Ninjago hairpiece, which I think just looks absolutely spectacular. And again, I love his sort of civilian clothing with his hoodie and his like button shirt underneath. He also does look a little bit too happy, I feel like, for what I think about when I think James Sirius. Like, all of the Potter kids just look so moody and like grumpy the whole time in the epilogue. But either way, I really love this face print. And on the opposite side, it does have a sort of scared, screaming face. Next up is the most prominent of the Potter children, and that is Albus Severus, and honestly, he's a little bit of a letdown. Like, I wish we got a new face for him rather than just using that sort of generic child face that is always used, like with the freckles and the plain eyes that looks slightly sad on the opposite side. Like, I really wish we would get some more face prints for kids, because I'm really getting sick of this one. And for someone like Albus Severus, I just feel like he deserved a little bit more. But besides that, I think his hair is really accurate. I love his torso print. I think it looks great. He's just overall a bit of a letdown in the face print department. Same goes for Lily Luna. Like, I'm just sick of seeing these same faces. I mean, besides the color of her hair being that medium nougat and not ginger, like, she looks exactly the same as the young Ginny minifigures, which personally I'm not a huge fan of. But again, her outfit is amazing. I love the pink legs. I love the pink jacket. Overall, she's adorable. And the last two minifigures of the set are where I guess one of my problems with this set comes in, and it is just a random Ravenclaw student as well as a random Hufflepuff student. Now, as minifigures, I think they look amazing. I love seeing these head prints being reused again. I love the skin tones. I love seeing the torsos be done again. Same with the troll skirt and the triple molded legs. And also the fact that they come with the printed platform 9 3/4 tile is amazing to see. However, these minifigures really feel like a wasted spot in this set. Personally, I would have rather not had these minifigures at all, and maybe reduce some of the cost as well as getting rid of some other things in this set. Or, like a lot of people have been saying, just have epilogue Ron and Hermione, who actually were originally included in the set alongside, I guess, all of their kids, but everyone got cut. But to me as well, putting these minifigures in, like, it really just feels very forced. Like, I love getting the different house robes and I love getting different skin tones, but for a set like this, it just feels like it doesn't quite fit in. Like, I would have much rather have seen these minifigures appear in a cheaper set that's more accessible to a lot of people. So that way it's easier for people to get these torsos, but also have access to these flesh tones and these face prints, which currently aren't very common. Looking at the range of minifigures, to me, it really feels like, I guess, someone came in and told the designers, hey, you need to have more diversity in these minifigures. And for that reason, I guess maybe that was a contributing factor to them cutting some of the epilogue figures. And maybe that's how we ended up with them, because no one really wore their house robes when hopping on the Hogwarts Express. And yeah, it feels like a wasted slot to me, unfortunately. But the minifigures themselves do look amazing. I just wish that they were included in a different set and that we had minifigures that were actually present in the scene included, especially when they called these minifigures like Deathly Hallows minifigures on the box. But with the Ravenclaw girl in particular, this head is actually the same one as shown in the trunk. And then as for the Hufflepuff student, I can't actually quite pinpoint where I feel like I've seen this head before. But again, these minifigures both look amazing. Specifically though, in the Hufflepuff student's case, like I would have loved to have seen the robe printing on the legs. But yeah, just overall, it really feels like a wasted opportunity putting these two minifigures in this set. So the first part of the build that you do is the Hogwarts Express engine, which to me is by far the most interesting and engaging part of the entire build. Seeing this model come together, specifically this engine, is so incredibly enjoyable, but also so incredibly rewarding. It's got so many amazing build techniques, a lot of studs not on top or snot methods, so many interesting pieces as well, and it was just really fascinating to see it come together. And the end result is something that is so incredibly slick and clean with tons of curves and not many exposed studs at all. It really is a work of art when it comes to a Lego model. There are very few aspects that I feel like maybe could have been improved slightly, one of which actually comes down to, I guess, like the back of the Hogwarts Express. Like I wish some of these plates here, especially at the front where these cheese slopes are, were black, just that you couldn't really see that red strip, but at the end of the day, from a distance, you're not really gonna notice that. The bigger problem to me though, just comes down to the front of the Hogwarts Express engine where the Hogwarts Express sign actually sticks out. Now this is accurate to the actual train models, like this whole sign does stick out quite a bit. However, due to just the dimensions of Lego pieces and the way that it was built up, it just seemed like it sticks out just a little too far. Like it just look a bit funky when you sort of look at it. However, it's nothing, I guess, like too prominent. I mean, if you're looking at it from the front, it looks fine. Unless you're displaying it sideways, like that's really when you're going to notice that this is a bit of an issue. And unfortunately, despite this being on a clip piece, you can't actually push it back all that far because of the way it was built. Another issue with this Hogwarts Express sign was this sticker. Now this sticker sheet does have quite a few stickers, a lot of which were really easy to apply on very just square shapes, but this arch sticker was a nightmare to try and put on. It took me several attempts, several, I guess, just tries to try and get it right, to try and get it even, and to have this arch be exactly perfect. This is one piece that I wish was printed. Now, another aspect of this train that I really like is that it actually has a slight play feature and with a little bit of Technic functionality. Is what you can do is stick this little Technic handle into the top here and then spin it around and the entire wheels would move. Now, there is a Technic rod that runs right down the center of the Hogwarts Express and connects to the wheels at the bottom, and that is essentially how this whole system works. You can just about see it if you look really closely, like you can see some of the gears through the wheels, but for the most part, you're not going to be able to see anything unless you turn the train entirely upside down. Now, like I said, this train is really well built and honestly for me was my favorite part of the build experience. I thought it was incredibly clever using these Technic pieces to sort of have those golden yellow accents on the train. That was one aspect that I really liked. I also love how clean it is and again, how little studs there are. This entire thing is really closed off and really well done. Now at the back of the train, there is a tiny bit of space where you can put the Hogwarts Express conductor and he can sort of do his thing in there. But interestingly enough as well, this entire section is just built out of black bricks. There's no like fire section. There's no place for them to burn coal or anything, which is something that I've seen in quite a few of the older Hogwarts Express models. Now, lastly, with the engine, there are these really nice printed Hogwarts castle tiles, which are the exact same size as some of the ones on the playset Hogwarts, and they do stick out a little bit. I've personally knocked them off a couple of times just because they're attached simply using a stud connection on a jumper plate, but it's nothing too major. If you're just going to have this sitting down, it's not going to fall off on you. You'll be perfectly fine. This is definitely the highlight of the set to me when it comes to just overall design and build experience. This part of the train is so well done and really is, I think, the star of this set. The next part of the train is the middle carriage, which I sort of want to call a coal cart. I tried my hardest to find out what this cart actually was called and could not find it for the life of me, so I apologize to any train fans out there. Much like the engine, this thing features a lot of really cool build techniques and overall just looks very clean. Like again, you look at the sides and it just looks so slick. Now these pieces on the front here are unfortunately stickers. The middle one was actually a little bit harder to apply than I thought. I definitely suggest applying the sticker once the piece is attached, just so that it is perfect, but the other two on either side were really simple and really easy. Now some of the highlights of this build for me were particularly these little corner areas. There were some really clever parts usage, which admittedly was a little hard to follow, I guess, if you're not too familiar with Lego building. For example, my mum actually built this part of the train and she's not all too experienced, so she did struggle a little bit. So if you are someone who is newer to Lego building or hasn't had as much experience with different techniques, you might struggle a little bit with some aspects of this, but for the most part, it's very straightforward. Now this Carriages design as well, the proportions and I guess dimensions are so different to anything that I've seen with the playset one, and that really I guess just goes to the scale of this thing. Like there was so much more potential for this to be a little bit more accurate, a little bit closer to the film and to real life trains, because it could be a lot more elongated than having sort of a shorter model that is really meant for playset stuff. Just like the engine, there are the little steps on the front here, and one of the other favorite aspects of this carriage in particular is the use of all of these rail pieces in order to have that golden detailing. Everything sort of sticks out very slightly, which I guess will be a little bit painful for dusting, but looks really good on the finished model. At the top of the carriage as well, there are a ton of cylindrical 2x2s to sort of stack up the coal piles, as well as some studs, and overall it looks really good and gives a lot of texture compared to the rest of the build, which once again is very smooth. The entire inside of this carriage as well is hollow. There are a few support beams in there, but luckily there's no wasted pieces inside, which for a set of this scale and this piece count is really impressive. Like there really is not any wasted space in this model. So the third and final part of the train is of course the passenger car, and this thing is huge. The set itself is long enough, but this one in particular from end to end actually takes up 47 centimeters or 18.5 inches. It is ridiculous. This thing is really well built, and also if you are trying to transport it, whatever you do, do not pick it up from the top, as all of these sections can come off. You've really got to just lift it up and transport it from the bottom. Now this train has several compartments, each representing different parts of the film, allowing you to display all of the minifigures pretty much besides the epilogue figures in one train. You've also got a couple of spaces left over if you wanted to add your own students, which was really cool. There's also a lot of references to other various Harry Potter sets and just references to various things in the Harry Potter universe in this area. It's really cool. But not only that, the passenger cart actually comes with 3 different light bricks here, and here to light up the different compartments and I guess sort of showcase them a bit better. Personally, I feel like they could have done without the 3 light bricks. I mean, firstly, they sort of stand out at the top a little bit. I also don't think it was entirely necessary. Like while you can press down and sort of light it up, I don't think it actually adds that much to the set, and I also don't think people are probably going to walk up to it and turn the lights on all too often, and especially to have 3 light bricks, like that is a lot of extra cost in this set that I feel like if those bricks weren't included would have shaved some money off the very high price point that this set is. Now when building this train, there is quite a lot of repetition, especially when it comes to the roof. There are a bunch of different sections though. You sort of have to build things 3 times, but it was nothing too major or painfully repetitive, I feel like. And of course, just like the other 2 carriages as well, there are some amazing build techniques, specifically when it comes to the windows being sort of attached horizontally using snot methods, and then it being able to stay up using a variety of pieces to really lodge them in there so that they don't completely fall through. There's also some really great build techniques when it comes to the sliding carriage doors, which I will show you. This entire passenger cart is really well done. So the first section of the passenger car that I want to focus on is of course from the Philosopher's Stone. So each of these little sections pops off here, and they are purely attached via 2 studs in each side, so it's really easy to take them on and off, which again is why if you want to lift this around, you really should grab it from the bottom. Now in the Philosopher's Stone and Prisoner of Azkaban carriage, they're pretty much built the same, just decorated a little bit differently. Firstly, each of them have a little quote tile at the top, which is a sticker, and in this one's case it says, "Has anyone seen a toad?" and then says who that quote was from, which in this case is Hermione Granger. There are 4 seats in here as well as 2 little armrests that can be folded up or down, which I thought was really cool, and especially in this case, it just allows Harry and Ron to sit a bit better. And there's only really specific studs for Harry and Ron to stand because, you know, they have the short legs on one side here. The other side just has regular seats. So again, if you wanted to fill the train out a little bit more, you could put some taller students in here. Now, one thing I really like about this carriage in particular is sort of all of the chocolates and little snacks and sweets that are on the floor, as well as Scabbers the rat. I thought that was really nice decoration. Like, we've got a Bertie Bott's bean, we have a chocolate bar, we have purple underneath, which I'm just gonna go out and probably say that that's supposed to be a chocolate frog card. And honestly, the favorite part of these little carriages to me, it actually comes down to one sticker detail, which references some of the older Hogwarts castles. Now, in this carriage in particular, the castles that are represented are the first ever 2001 Hogwarts castle silhouettes, and then this second one to me sort of looks like 2010, but it also doesn't quite look like the box art. I'm kind of confused as to which one that is supposed to be, but considering there are 2 other ones that represent older Hogwarts castles, I just want to go off and say that I think it's supposed to represent 2010. Now, the design for these carriages are incredibly cool. There are a variety of windows as well as a little carriage door which actually slides. Now, this is a window panel piece and it is lodged in there using a bunch of railing pieces, and overall just the build technique and the way that this was done is so impressive. It's not something that I ever thought was going to be possible, and it's not something that I thought was going to work either as I was building it. Then next up is the Prisoner of Azkaban section. So again, you just pop off this window and you can see the interior. Now this time the quote says, "I think someone's coming aboard, Ron Weasley." And then the actual Hogwarts castles that are printed on these rooftop sections here are the 2004 Hogwarts castle as well as the 2007 Hogwarts castle. Now the build for this is pretty much the same when it comes down to the interior. The only real difference is that there is this tiny little glass bottle, which of course gets fogged up when the Dementors come and join, but also it's kind of hard to actually fit Harry and Hermione in this one, considering there are 4 figures. Like, of course you can put up the little armrest to make it a little bit more spacious, but personally I found it kind of hard to get the minifigures in these back 2 seats since you can't really take off this middle section all too well. Now they do compensate for that in the instructions, as there is literally a section of them that sort of goes through where and how you're supposed to place all of the minifigures to represent these scenes. However, since I'm making a review and I'm making content on this set, I do have to take the minifigures in and out quite often, but if you are planning on just leaving them in the train, you shouldn't have this issue. And then lastly, we have the Half-Blood Prince section, which is the only one that is built slightly differently. Instead of having a regular sort of train compartment, there are these little seats facing one another that sort of remind me, I guess, of more of a typical sort of train setup. Now, unlike the other 2 carriages, you can't actually open up this back section of the train. Like, it is all completely built solid. You can't lift anything up unless you completely deconstruct it. So in order to get minifigures at the back, you really have to reach in there and do it. If you want to put them in, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. I guess even getting Harry and Luna into these middle sections where they belong is kind of a pain, but it's not impossible. Now the 2 end sections are also kind of hard to open up. I mean, firstly, there are doors on either side that you can reach through to and place figures down on, but there is also this little section of the roof here that can be popped off so that you can access the top sort of head down. Now on the inside of the left-hand side of the carriage, there is this little notice board sticker that has a picture of the ticket that also looks like a Weasley's Wizard Wheezy sign-up sheet, as well as a couple of other bits and bobs, what I imagine to be a Hogwarts letter. You can't really see it once it's been placed inside the train, as you can't open up anything to access it. You've really just got to look, I guess, from the top down or by opening this side door. Now this left-hand side does have a couple of Easter eggs. Firstly, on this little compartment here, there are 4 sort of luggage things, all decked out in the various house colors, with Gryffindor being on the top. And as you turn it around as well, there is a little green frog sort of sat in the corner there, which the instructions explicitly say is sort of meant to represent Trevor. There's also a little neat section for you to put the trolley witch in, complete with her trolley on a stud there, which I really like how they've included jumper plates in order to really place all of the minifigures in here. The right side of the train is pretty similar, but it is a bit smaller. Again, it doesn't really open up besides the 3 doors around here, and you can see that this like whole section here is sort of closed off with another one of those really cool sliding door pieces. You can see a little bit better how the Technic works using those angular little lipped pieces, which I thought was really cool. And then as for how you're supposed to place Draco in the instructions, they literally say just to put him on some of these sort of exposed studs here, which feels really awkward. It sort of looks like he's a little bit ominous there, but there is a variety of jumper plates for him to stand. Now, as you turn the train around, you can see that pretty much it is exactly the same on the back. However, it is built slightly different. Again, you can't take off the back section where the Prisoner of Azkaban is, but you can pop this entire back section off and really see the sort of alleyway of the Hogwarts Express. Now, one thing that I really like about this is that there is an entire chunk taken out of this sort of edge here, purely so that you can fit the Dementor in there, because he's got that longer foot piece of his little ghost legs, which I thought was really smart and very, very considerate. Now from this side as well, you can get a really good look at sort of the little hallway that goes across here, which the trolley witch can actually sort of walk along here with her trolley, since her trolley was built really skinny, which I love. There are also these little lanterns on either side, and of course my favorite aspect, which are these sliding doors, which are blocked by these tiles that are slightly sticking out. And in both of these cases, both doors should be open, as Hermione is supposed to be standing right here as the Dementor is here. So after the engine, you go along and build the train track. Now this is not the complete train track. It is actually built up in two identical sections that connect together using a variety of Technic pins on one end. Now this entire thing is mostly hollow. Like, there's a couple of support beams in there so that as you place the plates down, they have something to stick onto, and then when you put the weight of the train on, again, there is something for it to rest on. There's also a variety of Technic pieces at the bottom of the train track, which are purely there so that you can actually attach the platform to the train build. Now this entire train track is completely custom, and honestly, part of me wishes that we didn't have it at all. Like, I kind of wish that it was just the train on its own without the train track. However, it does look really nice on display. It does work. It is just a massive use of pieces, and that's the only reason why I even sort of think about that. But that being said, it does look really nice. I like how it's built up and pretty much all black besides the plates at the bottom. As you can see, as I sort of tip it round, like, they really did not waste any space with pieces at all with this build. But all of the train's wheels can fit on there, and the entire thing can move back and forth, and it works really well. Now the other half of the train track is pretty much identical besides these four little sort of pillars here. Now these are all sort of stuck up so that you can attach the engine to the train, and that way it doesn't roll around and you don't have to worry about it falling off of the display. So the fourth and final part of this set is of course the King's Cross station, or as the plaque likes to say, King Cross station, but we will get to that. And honestly, as much as I really love the build and the design of this platform, to me, it honestly feels like just a big waste of parts. Like, I think this entire platform could have been cut, and I don't think it would take much away from the set. I mean, at the end of the day, the Hogwarts Express is the main focus, and while this platform is a really nice addition, just because of, I guess, how limited you had to be in terms of budget, it means we got left with a platform that feels a little bit incomplete to me. I feel like if there was two complete arches, it feels like maybe that would have been a little bit better, but then it would have increased the price far too much. I don't think it helps the platform either that the train is so long. Like, I'm pretty sure this is slightly smaller than the passenger car alone, which is not very good for this platform. Now, with all that being said, I get why the platform is included. It sort of ties the set all together more, and in terms of just this being a Lego model, I think it works in that regard. But in terms of this being a Lego set, this just feels like it's half done to me, and it's really unfortunate considering how gorgeous and well built this thing is. Now, in saying, I guess, how gorgeous and well built it is important to note that that is only on one side of this platform. As when you turn it around, the entire inside is hollow, and this is what I sort of mean when I say, like, this set does not waste any parts or waste any space. Like, this entire thing is hollow. It doesn't have an opposing side because this is meant to attach against the train tracks using these Technic pieces, and when it's on display, you're not really going to see all of these gaps. You might get a glimpse of it at particular angles, but for the most part, you won't actually know that this entire backside is completely empty. Now, the overall design for this is pretty neat. I mean, you have a nice clean black base in order to sort of blend in, I guess, with the train track, complete with a nice little plaque, which is just on one of those ramp pieces, so it is a little bit small. You also have these nice curved pieces, and again, everything looks very clean. This entire model as well does contain a lot of the masonry bricks, so I think this would be really good, I guess, just for mocks, or if you didn't want to use the station, like parting this out and using this for something else. Like, I think all of the pieces in this are incredibly useful. for this entire like station platform as well. Once it has sort of been elevated to match a real train station, again, looks really clean. It matches the same sort of style and aesthetic as the rest of the train where there aren't many studs, but there are a couple of jumper plates that you can actually attach and display the minifigures, which I'm a really big fan of. The archways is all just one big piece that is actually attached using some axle joints as well as some snot pieces using these like tan pillars here. That is how this entire thing is really just structured. It's all built upside down as well. It's a really cool build. However, I did find it to be kind of confusing when it got to these little arch pieces, but overall it turned out amazing. Now for some detail with this platform, there are these two little lamp posts complete with these white Technic balls to sort of top it all off. Of course, you have the platform 9 3/4 sign, which is just on a little flag piece with a sticker. Like most of the other scenes as well, you have a nice little quote tile, which in this case says, "Dad, what if I am put in Slytherin with Albus Severus Potter?" which honestly feels like the most, I guess, like iconic line out of all of the quote tiles that are on these things. Like, I think this is the one that makes the most sense, I think, out of the entirety of the set. And then lastly, of course, there is another platform 9 3/4 sign with the little Hogwarts Express sign written underneath it. There is also a little bit more on the opposite side though. There are these little like archway structures which are built up of some of these like flexible Technic rods, as well as just a bunch of plates and some of these like small ring pieces, and overall it creates a really nice sort of display and shape. There aren't any lamp posts though, unfortunately, but for the most part the whole thing looks very clean, very nice, and really does give off, I guess, like a King's Cross London vibe. Now, despite the bottom of this platform being very hollow, the entire thing does still continue to have that same color scheme besides this gray picture frame that is put in the middle, just in order to give it a massive support beam. So I'm glad that it does sort of blend in, but again, yeah, from some angles you may see this. Now, unfortunately, just like last year, there actually is another spelling mistake in this set, which is pretty disappointing considering it feels like, I guess, we didn't quite proofread it as much. Now, admittedly, it did take me a really long time to actually notice this, and it wasn't until people pointed out what word it actually was that I noticed it. But in fact, this sticker right here says the Hogwarts Express leaves from King Cross instead of King's Cross. Now, alongside the platform build as well, you do get two little luggage trolleys, one for Albus and one for James, which I thought was really cute. However, the instructions and sort of product images also just show it with the random Hogwarts students. But all of this stuff can be placed on the platform just to make it look a little bit more lively. And again, this is where I really wish like we had Ron and Hermione, just so that it properly sort of sets the scene a little bit better rather than just sort of having some random students lying around. So that is the Hogwarts Express, and overall I love this set. It was a really great build experience. It was incredibly rewarding as well just to see it come together. It's so well made and so interesting just to watch and see and just experience in front of me. But at the same time, I think this set would have been much better off being around more of a $400 price point and cutting some of the things that were included in this set. I get what they were trying to do, I get the concept, and I think what they've done is amazing, but it's just a little lackluster in some parts, like not having Ron and Hermione as the epilogue figures and having two random students instead, having a platform that only really has one complete arch with this giant train that takes up literally the width of my dining table. Like, it just feels very incomplete to me. I would have much preferred they take out the light bricks and take out the platform and just have the train and have the track and really have that be the star of the set and have it at a cheaper price point so that it's just a little bit more appealing to people who may want this set and may want to have it on display. But if you love Harry Potter, if you love trains, if you have lots of space and lots of spare money to throw at a set like this, I think you are going to absolutely enjoy it. I do think it's a little bit expensive for what you get, especially when I pit it against things like Diagon Alley and the Hogwarts Castle. Like, to me, I feel like your money is probably better spent and you're going to get more value out of those sets. But in saying that, this model is incredibly impressive. My mum loves it. I love it. I can't wait to put it on display. I really want to put it somewhere and show it in all of its glory, because I enjoyed this set way more than I ever thought I would, which I'm really glad about, especially considering how much I paid for it. So let me know if you plan on picking up this set and what you think about it, and do you think it's worth the high price tag? And also let me know what other, I guess, collector's edition items you think we could get from Harry Potter. Personally, I would love to see a Night Bus and a Flying Forward Anglia and of course Gringotts. I feel like all of those things would be really cool to get sometime in the future. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time guys, I'll see you later.